Radio. Yeah, you already know. Talk Riff Radio. It's time to start the show.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Talk Riff Radio. I'm Alex and that's Tom. We're just sitting here on a dock by the bay watching our favorite new video. It's an advertisement that was sent to us by Purr-Pilot. Very excited to announce to be partnering with Purr-Pilot to provide just a great experience for some of our furry friends. Tom, I know you're very close to this one. You're very excited. You actually have someone in the household that is going to benefit from this partnership pretty closely, right?
Yeah, this is an excellent product, and we're proud to be sponsored by this company. They're new, and this is their world premiere product.
Cool. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
Meet Purr-Pilot, a cat bed that follows the sun or your cat.
Never lose your sunny spot.
No cats were harmed in the making of this ad.
I mean, that's really, I'm really excited. That's really great. I mean, that's
Wow.
yeah.
That's all I can say is wow.
I mean, the future is now is what the first words that popped into my head.
For the first time in my life, the future is now.
Finally, it's here. I mean, obviously,
I've been waiting so long to get this product. I saw our sponsors come in. We have a long list of different sponsors that we have been taking. And when we saw Purr-Pilot, we knew that it was going to be a massive hit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Search for Purr-Pilot,
and then like and subscribe Talk Riff Radio.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's really how you support us and support Purr-Pilot. So we appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited for all these partnerships. I mean, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for us to put out things that deserve more attention, you know?
Yeah.
And then just kind of express our imaginations through these partnerships.
Yeah. And these conversations, because really, without these conversations that we're having on Talk Riff Radio, we would not come up with these funny, innovative new solutions to real world problems. And so, that's the beauty of listening and liking and subscribing and joining our new community of listeners, subscribers. And we're going to end up having a really fun time here. That's what Talk Riff Radio is all about.
Yeah, I agree. I think, just the turning ideas into something you can look at and kind of imagine now in like your own house or, in your own community, depending on what kind of things we're generating. It's just another fun, exciting thing that, I really enjoy. And really, like, that's this whole podcast is just kind of fun and exciting and an experiment and
stream of consciousness.
Yeah, exactly. That product came about from just one of your ideas that you had for a cat bed product that didn't exist, and now it's essentially real in digital form. So from just an idea to something that, in theory, you could sell, is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I would highly suggest that if any of our ideas do turn into an actual product in the physical reality, bring those ideas back, bring those products back, share them with us, and we will highlight them in upcoming podcasts as well, with the throwback to when we came up with the idea, the process of, generating these commercials, and then highlighting an actual product that gets made. It would be really fucking cool.
Yeah, there is kind of a recorded storyline for some of these products, obviously, because we talk about it in the podcast, and then we also jump online together to create the in this scenario commercial for the product. And yeah, I think you're on board with it too, Tom, of maybe getting that to live stream sometime. We have to figure out, obviously, the technical side of things of this whole thing has really been kind of the labor of love of it. We can talk all day, but getting the tech side of doing a live stream is something else. So we got to figure that out. And then you can actually just hang out with us in a chat box and ask us questions and stuff. And yeah, if you want, please, we'll be rolling that out soon.
Yeah. The beauty of this podcast really comes down to the essence of conversations that you have with your best friends. And I think this product alone, or this commercial alone, highlights that, where today in 2025, we're able to actually, riff with your friends, and those products that you come up with and that you'll never ever build yourself can actually be turned into something visual that you can see without waiting or holding these ideas back for some time in the future when you never end up doing them.
And then you see somebody else's commercial that it copies your brain and copies your ideas and steals your thoughts, and you feel it's kind of silly, but it does feel kind of violating, right? When, you just had a thought and it pops up in reality because somebody else created it. So now we're just kind of saying, why is there any time in between thinking something and then actually making it something visual that I would see somebody else create? Let me just do it myself. So that's kind of my thought process on kind of the behind the scenes of why. But that's a pretty big topic to unfold.
Oh yeah. I mean, when it really comes down, when we think about how many of our ideas that we've talked about or riffed about in years past, and I maybe take a slightly different approach to seeing them, where I almost feel, what would that be called? Is it vindicated?
Okay, yeah, sure. Vindicated.
Where you're like, oh, wow, it's a sign that it seems like it is a sign that we actually are truly connected in some energetic form, where as you do come up with these solutions, it projects out into the universe, and it does end up going to the cloud in some way, whether that's it's an energetic field where these ideas go and they live until the right vessel, it has the opportunity to pull from that cloud and bring it down to the earth. So I think that when you see those ideas that come to fruition, and you thought of them, definitely it's one of the, it seems to me that those are shared ideas that come into this world, and you can feel like you're a part of them. So if maybe some of our fans did already think of a cat bed that follows the sun.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's a thought that's been had. I like that we thought of it and we haven't seen it before. But yeah, you have a very optimistic Zen approach when you consider the connectivity of the energy of everyone's thoughts. It is true. Like, yeah, you can definitely feel it.
I like your idea of being the first to get the idea out there. Also, kind of solidifies like a major step in the direction of that product getting to the finish line of being built, or that business or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I like that idea too. I mean, that's part of like design, or any like that kind of stuff where your prototypes and
Mock-ups, and you
Mock-ups,
gotta you gotta make it real, especially to communicate what you're trying to do. I think is, if you really do want to collaborate and make it better, then making a visual aid for that thing is great. I mean, our conversations, throughout the years, even like how many good ideas we've had for movies or products or just like theories and stuff. And I can't help but looking back, think like every time we did something cool like that, I wish we wrote it down. I mean, that was the basic thing, right? Like, man, I know there's tons of stuff that we didn't write down, and maybe it'll come back around, in thoughts, but it was kind of lost in the moment. And now, since like we're recording our conversations, we are writing it down, and we are then taking it to the next level from there, which is the exciting part too, is creating something that other people can experience. Because usually our conversations, just taking like a movie idea, for example, the whole conversation is kind of in the thought of, man, other people would really enjoy this movie if it was real. But then it's just us two, like, talking and bullshitting. It's like, yeah, I really want to share it, but there's no way to like let everyone listen to our phone calls. But now there is, so that's cool too.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great point you're making. One of those, something that I have heard in the past was that when everybody thought something was impossible, all it really took was one person to do it. And then all of a sudden you had potentially millions of people being able to follow in that one person's footsteps.
Yeah.
So it actually did take that act alone, or that record that gets beaten, and everybody thought it was impossible to beat some track and field record. And then all of a sudden everybody's beating it. And then there's a new bar being set.
Yeah.
And then, another person comes and beats that. And then everybody thought that was impossible. And it keeps progressing in that direction, keeps going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's interesting because, time is really just the only thing that makes anything impossible, right? I mean, everything that exists was at some point impossible. So if you progress and you use your time to figure something out, then you can do anything. You can make anything. Now, maybe that time doesn't exist in your lifetime, but at least the research or the work that you're putting in now towards that thing is taking it in a direction where it's no longer going to be impossible at some point. But to just say something's impossible and then just give up, because it's literally, things can be impossible in the present, but time will make everything possible. Maybe that's a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, consistency, discipline, and determination, will eventually break the wall of, into the future. So if something seems impossible, it might actually be impossible today, but that has nothing to do with tomorrow or the next day or the future months or the future years.
Or 1,000 years from now.
Or 1,000 fucking years from now. Or a canal.
Dude, you know how long it takes to build a canal? People used to say that was impossible.
Exactly.
But look how many canals we've built.
I mean, who's to say that these oceans aren't actually man-made?
I don't know who's to say that, man. I don't.
I mean, we got man-made lakes. Why?
Yeah, for sure.
Why couldn't it have been a past civilization that said, let's dredge these land, like this massive continent, into an ocean, and they built it? It just took a long time.
It did take a long time. They were giant people, like Titans, like the mythological beings. They could move Earth and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure, if I remember my ancient Greek history.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I wanted to bring up this week is there's a lot of people that study geology and some people speculate that geology is the study of living things transformed into rocks. So, there's these high plateaus that are literally perfectly shaped like tree trunks,
and flat on the top. Yeah,
and
like
they're flat on the top.
Yeah, mesas
and so
plateaus.
some people speculate that those are actually trees. They were massive trees at one time, and they petrified.
I mean, it looks like it. It looks like massive trees. Have you heard the history of the carbon dioxide content in core samples that they take of the Earth, and how they can track like plant growth and how many plants existed? And just like there were ice ages, there were also green ages. Like I don't know the exact like term for it, the popular term, but there were
the green ages.
I mean, we're coining it right now. Scamflation and green ages. But yeah, they've been able to actually see in these core samples when the Earth was a jungle, like a lot more verdant than it is today. So yeah, giant trees, sure. With that much carbon dioxide in the air too, that's kind of what their research was about. It would it would promote the plant growth like crazy. So
correct.
Yeah,
and I think it would make sense to me that these ebbs and flows of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere actually relate to the growth, like you're saying. It doesn't have to only deal with plant material. The fact that there was massive amounts of let's say volcanic action during the dinosaurs. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what did they release? Carbon dioxide. And what did we have? Massive animals roaming.
Yeah, gigantic,
roaming Earth.
Huge, like 10 stories bigger.
Yeah.
20 I don't know what's the biggest dinosaur.
Who knows? I mean, that's what I'm saying. That some people are speculating that these rock formations even might not be dinosaurs, but life forms, like they're bone structures that have been petrified too.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, I mean, we've been able to discover through the just crazy coincidence that fossils exist. I mean, I believe fossils are real and that dinosaurs were once around, but the rare scenario where a fossil can be created, where bone isn't just ground down into dust before it petrifies and fossilizes, is really, really rare. So, we're maybe only getting a tiny glimpse of the creatures and the life forms from back then. We think we have a good picture of what it was like, but that's just because of this very small window and lucky circumstance where an animal falls in mud or tar and is protected from the elements long enough for their bones to turn into minerals and turn into fossils. Whereas there's millions and billions of years of the planet that there's no history for. There's no scientific or evidence of anything of those times. So who knows? I like the idea of the giant trees, because that would mean that's a 10,000 foot tree or something like that. Because those things are that little stump sliver is a good 500-600 feet. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean,
cool.
There is even speculation some of these forms are melted buildings petrified and melted over the years. So that's another one too, where you see something like Petra, or you see something like in the Mojave that looks literally like an ancient structure with windows and doorways and arches and columns.
Yeah.
And people are like, that could be a building that's just been there for that long that eventually it turns into a solidified rock.
It's like a cave system now or something. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, going to our hot topic of the day, I know that you had some research, some analysis on that you were doing on an event that happened.
Yeah. So I wanted, to start from the beginning of why this is today's topic. All of a sudden, my Instagram algorithm switched entirely to 9/11 conspiracy videos. Like, I've always been marginally interested in it, but I didn't go searching all of a sudden one day in 2025 and be like, let me learn more of it. I didn't type it in anywhere. I didn't do anything. I didn't talk about it to anyone. It's been years since I've even gone in a rabbit hole about it. But all of a sudden Instagram was like, this is what you're going to be obsessed with now. So that's kind of those are the rabbit holes I've been going down, is all 9/11 conspiracy,
So what are some of the things that you maybe learned that you never heard of before?
Well, I think, some of the things, I mean, I know all the ones, the kind of the easy ones, I think, are like, jet
Are they
fuel doesn't
mainstream?
melt.
Would you consider them mainstream?
Mainstream conspiracies, sure. I mean, in my demographic, I guess, jet fuel can't melt steel beams is kind of the top one on the list, right? And then I think another pretty common one is that it wasn't a plane that hit the Pentagon. It was a missile. The controlled demolition, Building 7. I think these are all kind of relatively mainstream if you've done any sort of shallow dive into 9/11. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, I mean, just like random shit like the passport that somebody found on the side of the road, and like a wheel from the plane.
I think they found 6 passports of hijackers.
It's just a coincidence.
But there's no concrete left from the buildings. It's all dust.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
And
have maybe some random thoughts as well, but
I should also say I wanted to talk about this because you were kind of one of my first conspiracy friends way back in the day, and you've probably taken a break from getting too deep into stuff too, because you can get lost easily, and I can too. Everybody can. But
I mean, a lot of things are just fake and gay.
We should.
No, I'm just kidding. But I think my mind typically goes into possibilities.
Yes.
And as a detective would do, he throws everything out onto the table, all evidence possible, in order to, rummage across it and find the clues of the links from this to that,
Yeah.
And so I never go conspiracy and stay there.
Sure.
I always I want to have the ability to link, or potentially link things together to make my own rational thoughts about a subject.
Sure.
Versus being fed just one thing and have to just say, yes, that's it.
Oh yeah, no. I think one thing I really enjoy about conspiracies is that they're abstract. It's not a given answer, because we are drawing conclusions and making assumptions and using evidence that we deem as worthy to kind of form a different narrative than what we're being fed. So it is like an amoeba kind of. It changes what it is as you learn new things and as you make new connections. And then also, I'd like to think about the detective throwing things out all over the table, but then it's always a good idea when you're trying to do any investigation is to look at the most likely scenarios, right? And that's where a lot of my logic gets broken in this specific one is what has passed and what is the past and what has evidence shown us. And then also, like any crime, which it is a crime, we have to consider everyone with motives. We have to consider everyone with the evidence that they've left behind, and then the bigger picture also. So yeah, I mean, the political side of it is something that I kind of left out from my research and my notes, kind of the Saudi Arabian connections and, CIA money and stuff like that, because that's a kind of a separate thing from kind of the mechanical and the technical side of it that is just, I guess it kind of just, it lights my light bulb a little bit more easily than the deep state stuff and things like that. Cause I know that's real. I know that exists. But I kind of left it out of this one.
Yeah. You're more interested in the actual true engineering of it versus the political engineering.
Yes, because that's so shadowy and so shady, and also it's almost a guarantee that it's happening. The fun of it isn't. I like the evidence, and I like saying, why aren't they saying this? Why aren't they? Why is nobody saying no? That didn't happen, because here is the scientific proof of it not happening. I need something provable.
It's more physics.
I need something provable.
Yeah. So that's some of the research or some of the things that you probably went down the rabbit hole on this lately, huh?
Yeah. Well, I want to start with the first one. So, like I said before, the overarching one, the big main one was the jet fuel can't melt steel beams, and that's that was a pretty common like hashtag or whatever we had back then. It was like the title of every conspiracy forum ever. Forums, kids, look it up, Google it. Forums, they used to be a thing. I was on them. Tom, I know you were on them. Tom was like an original Reddit dude. He was like back before everybody knew about Reddit. You and Grant were both big into Reddit back then, which I commend. But jet fuel that can't melt steel beams is just the basics of it is that jet fuel doesn't get hot enough to structurally diminish the strength of the building until it collapses. So the NIST report, I'll kind of just jump into like the main source material is something called the NIST report, which was kind of the scientific book that the 9/11 report was based on. So the 9/11 report is this giant, all-encompassing, huge, Senate committee investigational report on what happened. The NIST report is the actual structural engineering diagnosis of what caused the towers to collapse. Essentially, that's kind of what its goal was to investigate that more heavily. National Institute of Standards and Technology, I'm pretty sure, is what NIST stands for. And they're sort of a government organization. It is an institute. It's like they're learning about stuff there, but they are a government affiliated organization. So draw conclusions there where you may lie. Whose interests are they serving? They're not serving science's interests, right? They're serving the government's interests, and they want to. Now, looking back, paint a very specific picture of what happened.
It seems like that.
It's tough. It lends itself to conspiracy also because it's more about what they didn't say than what they did say. So there's a lot of conclusions to be drawn with the report because it leaves out some just key physics and materials engineering questions that are still open.
Their motto is everything you use in your everyday life works because of measurements.
Okay. I mean, yeah. Sure. Measurements are super. I'm a dork about measurements. I got a lot of rulers, calipers, micrometers. I love measuring shit.
Yeah, that's the only way to actually truly get to the bottom of any investigation is to have some sort of benchmarks and measurement ways to measure those things. So go on. Yeah, sorry.
I love it. I could talk about measurements. I could be a whole nother podcast.
Okay, we'll get there.
But so yeah, the NIST report is basically the science side of the 9/11 report that people know more readily. They readily know that the 9/11 report a little bit more. But the NIST report has been shown to leave out just a ton of very well established rules about physics and materials technology that aren't explained, and they fall back on them, like the melting point of steel and the fatigue points of steel, and how hot a fire can actually get when you're burning jet fuel, and an office, basically like an office, and how hot that can get. The first theory that I wanted to get into was, I just have it titled molten metal. So have you heard about it? Have you? I'm sure you have. I lost your audio.
This is a good one. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, yeah. Sorry for just rambling, but like I said, I've been consumed.
Dude, you're fine. I mean, the thing is that these NIST guys, it seems like you can't measure you can't find what you don't measure. And if they're like the kings of actually dealing with the scientific approach to it, it's like all you have to do is just not include it for measurement, and then all of a sudden you create a bias one way or the other.
Yes, and that is kind of you're right. How it was approached was that because they didn't have a measurement for something, they didn't acknowledge the well-known just physical science of these situations. So because the government was relying on them to provide verdicts, and they said, well, we just don't have anything about steel melting, or we don't know anything about that. The fire made it collapse. It just leaves a lot of room for interpretation. So molten metal. So there are two different kind of states of heating metal. You can heat it to fatigue, right? You can heat it to where it bends and even breaks. But when you take it beyond that, and I apologize, I should have numbers, but fuck numbers. I don't need numbers. There is a point where it turns into molten metal. So that means liquefies it. And there are many reports and eyewitness accounts of molten metal. There's video of molten metal. It's not like, this is 2001 we're talking about here. So you can watch the videos. They exist. They're not photoshopped. We didn't have that technology back then. These videos have existed for years and years. But what you're seeing is molten metal pour out of the side of the building before it collapses, and then finding pockets of molten metal while they're going through the rubble. Now, what NIST said was that it got hot enough to fatigue the steel beams to a point where they failed and the building collapsed. They don't even mention the fact that or at least a factor of at least 1,000 degrees hotter. I'm not sure. I should have numbers, but I don't. Is the point where it needs to get to be molten. So explain that. That's all we're asking, right? Is can you explain where the molten metal is from? Because that lends itself to something a little bit more purposeful. Because there's only one way a material that could get into a building that burns that hot. I mean, this is all controlled stuff like thermite and phosphorus and things like that are capable of getting to those temperatures, and people aren't just walking around with those aren't materials that are in a building. This like controlled demolition style of stuff that's made to cut metal.
So steel For it to melt, it needs to get to 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit to 2,750 degrees Fahrenheit.
For it to like liquefy.
For it to liquefy. So
I wonder what the NIST report says on the estimated temperatures inside the fire.
I don't either. What's well, that's how.
Well, we're not going to solve it today, right?
We're not solving anything.
Yeah.
But on a side note of the melted molten metal
Steel, yeah.
I would say that there was also like filming of cars and stuff at the bottom, that were like completely melted as well. So it didn't seem like it was only pertaining to the building itself. Like there was also just, again, those aren't maybe made out of steel.
Yeah, but probably.
Really
I mean,
cars.
yeah, most cars in 2001 were steel, plastic,
Maybe
steel,
aluminum.
plastic. Yeah, I mean, they could be parts of them be aluminum for sure.
Yeah. What's next? What else is ticking your boxes?
So this next one is really the most intriguing for me. Maybe I should save it for last. Yes, okay. I'm going to do that. So the next one isn't the most intriguing to me, but it is very intriguing at the same time, is the debris field of Flight 93. So when a plane crashes into the ground, that's everybody's worst day, right? I don't want to, we are going to be doing some laughing and smiling through this, but obviously it was a very scary day. I remember it. Everyone was shocked, appalled. It was the worst time in our nation's history as far as I can think back. Obviously that's a subjective claim, but it was horrible. When that plane hits the ground, that is where the debris is. It might fly a little bit, it could, the plane could explode, but it's limited. Usually I'm imagining, 300 yards maybe at the most. They're talking about searching an area. I believe what I read was 3 to 4 square miles to just do cleanup. There were I think they were very careful about allowing like any photography or photos or any press in this gigantic area. So there's not a lot of actual image of this large search area. But there are images of a crash that happened, and people there was a crater there. There's some spotty reports. I tried to do some more searching of witnesses that saw them take a shipping container out to the field before and like blow it up or burn it down or something like that to kind of like create the look of a plane crash. But those are pretty unsubstantiated, but they did exist back then, those claims.
So if it's a radius of 3 miles, does that say something about it? Maybe not, like you're saying, it's not a crash, it's something that happened in the sky, or
yeah, correct. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. No, I'm just sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm getting ahead of you.
No, but you know this already. But yeah, the idea of
it was a long time ago.
Sure. But Flight 93 being shot down instead of being crashed. So if something were to happen above the ground level, if it were to come apart for any reason, whether it was shot down or not, but if it was to come apart higher up in altitude, that would create the debris field to be larger. It would cause the debris field to be larger. And it's interesting because the report that I read, it wasn't really a report. I should say it was a conspiracy that I read on the internet. So take it for what it's worth. But the write-up that I read explained that plane could very possibly have been hijacked, and they could have been trying to get it to crash into the White House, which was the original, or the Capitol building. I forget exactly, but that was kind of the rumor back then. And then the people fought back and caused the plane to crash.
Oh, this is the one they made a movie about?
Yeah, Flight 93. Yep. But it could have gotten to the point where it was hijacked, they were going to fly it, and we get fighter jets in the air, and we have to make a decision, a very difficult decision, to shoot down a plane with American people and other nationalities too, but innocent people on it. And that's the cover up, right? Is that, okay, let's make it look like it crashed into the ground instead of us having to shoot it down. And let's paint a picture of these very courageous people on the plane to help garner some more patriotism and public support for what we're going to have to do next, which is start 20 years of war in the Middle East. That's the basic gist of it, is that, yeah, we shot it down and we covered it up.
Yeah, both these two stories remind me of a couple things. So over the course of however many years, there's been some other stuff too, like theories about I think like a harp or like a actual laser, a high powered laser that was able to disintegrate the building, which maybe ties into
That's wild.
the melting metal.
Yeah, sure.
That's something, I mean, I'd have to pull up, random fucking sources for, but that was another one.
I mean, that would be crazy, like a space laser that cut
like a space laser.
cut the building down piece by piece until it collapsed.
Yeah, it just basically, melted it.
Yeah.
The other one was the fact that underground there was over like $500 million worth of, at the time, $500 million worth of gold and silver in the vaults.
Oh, wow.
Have you heard that?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so like inside, and that was lost,
Yeah.
I'd have to pull up how many ounces. We could do the math and see how much that's worth today.
I mean, and the logistics of getting, I mean, if it's thousands and thousands of pounds of gold and silver, how'd they get it out of there?
Well, you remember the whole site was shut down, and nobody could go there except for the emergency crews for however many, and they had like bulldozers and they had excavation going on for months, and actually it was years. I remember.
Sure. Yeah. No. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
So this, and that was in an actual vault. So potentially that might not have melted while everything else around it did, or maybe the front door just opened up for them.
Yeah, and something also money related. I don't. Maybe you've heard this one too. That the day before 9/11, September 10th, there was a press release from Dick Cheney, I believe, that admitted to the Pentagon having misplaced trillions of dollars. And I don't know how true this next part is. That definitely happened. There's evidence of press release. And then September 11th,
they miss their audits like every year though.
Yes, they do. I think this was for some reason a little bit different than just that. But then also the unconfirmed part is just that the plane or whatever hit the Pentagon hit the exact spot where these records would have existed if they were ever to be able to do an investigation on that specific event.
Missing money.
Yeah. So they didn't even have a way to like look into it anymore. And that's, hey, that would be nuts. Like, hey, while we're doing all this other crazy shit, why don't we just shoot a rocket or a fucking cruise missile at the
specific room?
Yeah, the room where the records are stored. And it's terrible because people died and shit. But man, it just makes
going
me
back
laugh.
to the gold train of thought is the fact that like recently, let's just say there's that whole push for we got to audit Fort Knox, and then they were like with like Elon and Trump, and they were going to audit Fort Knox. but like they still haven't, and they're not going to. But they even were like, oh, we should live stream it. But like I can imagine, not imagine, but there's missing amounts of gold all over the place, and I bet you part of what was going on, and there's like pictures and stuff from Iraq and Afghanistan and these places where they were pulling gold bars out of out of palaces, and what were they actually doing there? Maybe there's like a separate conspiracy on the gold, the missing gold from the Federal Reserve, the Fort Knox, and our government actually trying to bring that gold home.
Yeah, there's a great movie about it called Three Kings, which is kind of more just an action movie, but
That's true.
It is based on soldiers stealing gold from Iraq in the first Gulf War.
Yeah, and not only did Saddam have it, but like that whole region is full of like Mesopotamian gold and
Artifacts and ancient, like religious reliquaries and stuff. Yeah. So Flight 93, obviously, horrible tragedy. If we did shoot it down, I imagine we'd never hear about it ever again. Like that's never going to be able to come out. There's not a memo that went out about that. That was a sort of a game time decision, I would imagine. I mean, yeah.
It's going to continue to fly under the radar, if you know what I mean.
So yeah, the last one, the one that I enjoyed reading about the most, is all kind of morbid, but I'll stop mentioning that. Is the Twin Towers being demolished, for the cost of asbestos abatement, to avoid the cost of asbestos abatement. So the World Trade Center had kind of been under investigation and under like slow renovation to abate asbestos for a long time. These buildings were built in the 70s. I mean, I think in like the late 80s, early 90s is when kind of asbestos kind of started to become well known for causing cancer. But these giant buildings had already been built. So slowly over time, they would renovate individual offices and be forced to remove the asbestos. However, kind of the clock was ticking on needing to really just remove all of the asbestos from these buildings, which would, I believe, have been quoted in the billions of dollars in order to, I think the number's right around $1 billion to abate the asbestos from both towers, which obviously was a huge amount of money today, and it was a huge amount of money back then, even more so. So that obviously ties into kind of the insurance fraud kind of aspect of it as well, where they were incentivized to, instead of dismantle these buildings at a huge exorbitant cost, dismantling these giant buildings wasn't ever, there's no precedent for that. Downtown Manhattan tearing buildings down that are 40, 50 years old, it wasn't feasible. It would have cost too much. That was really the only option though, because you can't demolish them, right? You can't legally implode them. It would have released a bunch of this asbestos and chemicals, so that wasn't an option. You can't demolish them legally. So what's the other way around it is you create a government conspiracy in order to fund terrorists in Saudi Arabia and provide them with resources enough to create a master plan to fly planes into them. Now that wouldn't have brought them down, as we've already established, on its own. So there is another layer to it that there was a demolition, but it was made under the guise of a terrorist attack. And
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
really the
so-
motive. Wait,
Sorry.
it's just sorry, no, it's no problem. It's just a conspiracy about motive. Like, why do we want to do this?
I mean, that goes to show, or what goes to show for that exact point would be all the emergency, like, you can't deny the fact that there was evidence of some really bad chemicals that were in that building because everybody that worked on that site got sick.
Yeah.
The other thing is the perfect disintegration into the basement of it, where like the free fall ness of the whatever the video of it, you can see it kind of perfectly coming down
Yeah.
together
The
in like
speed
the
of
most
it.
in the most like compact way possible,
Yeah.
which, you know, also goes to show that it would be on the side of a systematic collapse of like engineered proportion.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you look at a video of a building being demolished in a controlled manner, it looks a lot like the footage of 9/11.
Yeah, and it almost, some of them look worse than this, and they're smaller
Yes,
buildings.
yeah.
And like they're like leaning over, doing this and doing that.
And those are the ones
And
they
this one was-
try and do the right way, and they
Yeah.
can't even do it that well. And then, I mean, the craziest one is the Building 7 footage. I mean, that is it's not a good look. I can tell you. I mean, it just drops. It just falls
Right.
perfectly down straight into the ground, like a textbook.
over the shoulder of a news reporter too.
Yeah. There's a few different angles. Yeah. But yeah, the Building 7 thing's really, really strange.
What was in that building again?
Diesel tanks in the basement. Remember, that's
No,
what
but,
they said.
What did they have? What was the? What were the offices
There were
for in that?
DEA, FBI, CIA buildings, offices like that. So if you wanted to rewrite some of your history,
It's like Library of Alexandria.
yeah, you could. Yeah, you could burn it to the ground and then hide all of your secrets, basically, if
Yeah.
you wanted to.
Yeah, or move them out in a control, or move them out to a controlled site and ahead of time if you knew something was going to happen.
Yes,
Um,
but then always
so-
fall back on the fact that, oh, we don't know. They were gone. They got lost. They were in Building 7. We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's where AI comes in, and
Yeah, give
we're gonna
us
find those documents.
give us the secrets, AI.
Shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Well,
interesting
these are great.
stuff.
I mean, these are pretty interesting. Yeah, I mean, all these are I would say it's been so long that I definitely have not thought of any of these things, but I could tell you from firsthand experience living on the East Coast and being in school when they wheeled in the fucking TV.
Yeah, the big old
And
TV.
made us watch
Yeah,
what was going on.
yeah, they put it on for us too.
Yeah, and so like that, the first building had already been struck, and had to sit there and watch, as eventually it collapsed. And in my mind, it definitely, at that time, I mean, I was pretty young. It looked more Hollywood than it did an emergency event. So, but that was my child's brain thinking about it that way.
Yeah.
From the very beginning.
I remember the day pretty clearly, as probably most people do. I remember I was living in California at the time, so I was still asleep when it started. So, but I remember it was 6 a.m. because it was 9 a.m. right on the East Coast, like 9:03 or something like that. And I was in 7th grade, so that would have made me 12. And my dad comes into my room. I don't know that because I'm still sleeping, but he does wake me up. He just kind of looks over me and wakes me up, which is very strange, very rare, because I was waking up on my own at that point. I'm proud to say. and he just said something happened, and I was like, okay. Like, you know, I'd lived a pretty blessed life up to that point where no tragedy had befallen my family. So we didn't have a lot of like deaths in the family or anything like that. So my brain didn't really go to like, there's been a tragedy. But I remember, I remember him being pretty shaken up about it. Like, that was my first thought. Is like, oh shit, like something actually bad happened. And I didn't know what to think. Like, I mean, my family's all here at the house, so nobody here is. So then, you know, your thoughts go like grandparents and aunts and uncles and stuff like that. But then eventually, like, he kind of came around to say like, yeah, somebody attacked New York. I forget his exact words, but he broke it down for me. And you still have to go to school, is what I remember also. Because a lot of the news reports, I was watching the news at that point. I had just woken up, and they're saying, well, keep your kids home from school if you want to. Like, I don't know if you remember the news reports back then, but like, oh, tons of people aren't going to work and they're keeping their kids home from school. There's no flights available anywhere. You did get sent home? We didn't. We got sent to school.
Yeah, we got sent home. My instances, understanding it was a tragedy was getting home and seeing my mom in front of the TV crying. My dad wasn't home, and she was there crying. And I went in there, and I had been already watching this event for however many hours, in school, or an hour or two before they said, we're sending everybody home. But I saw her really shaken up, but I had already been exposed to it for enough time that I asked her, I was like, so is it okay? Like, I'm going to go and play baseball with my friends. Like, we have like this, after school thing that we would play, baseball or whatever with a metal bat and a tennis ball.
Hell yeah.
But I was like, I'm going to go play baseball. I'm out of school early, but like, I'm not going to sit here and continue to watch this. And she was so hurt by me wanting to go out and play. And I was like, damn, like, like adults, being an adult,
Yeah, sure. Everybody was, super scared. I remember the fear kind of, and thinking immediately, even as kids, I remember the conversation of being like, would they attack here? Like, is this a place where they would attack? And we lived in the port of Los Angeles. Like, that was miles away from my parents' house. You could see it from their house, basically. And it was kind of a concern because it's one of the biggest economic centers of the country. So that I just remember, even as a child, I don't remember a ton, but I do remember just the conversations being had among friends, like, well, they're not going to attack here, right? Like, what do we have? But there was just no, it was nonsensical, right? There was no like explanations yet. There was no information. We didn't know if it was, another country. We obviously thought it was a terrorist attack, but if you remember the first few days and weeks was like, it could have been anything. It could have been anybody. And we thought we were, I don't remember when war came into the conversation, but I feel like it was pretty immediate. Like, oh, we're going to war. Like, this is it. And I was like, holy shit. Like, we had been, there had been like the Balkans wars and things like that when we were younger. And military conflict, Gulf War was when we were really little. But those were all kind of like peacekeeping situations. And now we had like a reason to actually flex all this muscle. And there was like sort of this, it's difficult to say, but like, an excitement about getting to show off this ability that we have. So that was kind of an interesting thought that from back then that I think of sometimes.
Yeah. And like what you're saying is really true, in the sense that we jump to conclusions as a country, or what the government made their assessment and concluded where those targets were, like, quickly, super quick. And within that chaos of, like, disbelief of the country and disbelief, having that target made people, or having that those government decisions that seemed like immediate, like, go-to targets, like, it really did get the whole country on board really quickly. Like, there was no hesitation, because everybody needed to like, actually have a focus on where we needed to go to solve our problems.
Yeah, and they ended up feeding us the answers that they wanted, right? Iraq, Afghanistan, Iraq not as directly as people may assume. That was kind of an indirect victim of 9/11, but definitely sending troops into Afghanistan and kicking that off. They garnered the fear with 9/11 of another attack, and then placed that laser beam on Iraq and said, this is where the attack's coming from. They have the weapons to do it. Let's go in there and depose Saddam Hussein. But yeah, they fed us those. But sorry, go ahead.
Quick though, the thing, the solutions were presented in such a quick manner that it was like a two shots, like, fired across the bow immediately.
Yeah.
And the Afghanistan one was easy to
justify.
To justify these are the people that actually did it. So we're gonna go find them specifically.
Yeah.
We're gonna go and actually get those people.
Yeah.
And handcuff them or whatever the fuck we were gonna do, and actually take them down. The Iraq thing was very much like a shady, manipulative congressional thing, where there was, like, tons of back and forth.
Yeah, they needed to justify going into that war, and it took a lot.
Remember, like, they were even saying, like, there was, like, mobile nuclear dirty
bombs, yeah.
Dirty bomb mobile vans and, like, centrifuges on wheels, and they were saying, like, anthrax, and they were like, there's anthrax going through the mail, and, like, there's this was a fucking breeding ground for, like, funding and terror, of all these groups.
Yeah.
Then they got there and they didn't find anything.
No, they didn't find anything. They found a war criminal, essentially, in Saddam Hussein, who did terrible things to his people, and didn't deserve
about.
He didn't deserve a second look by American citizens, right? In our mind, he was like, oh, he's a bad guy. And again, I'm a 12, 13-year-old kid. Like, what do I know? But they made out a bad guy to look like a bad guy, so it was really easy. How fast it all rolled out was crazy. It's almost like they maybe had plans to do this anyway, and kind of just used a lot of this fear that they just stumbled into, maybe organized, as that first kickoff step. I think it's interesting because I don't think that the patriotism that was shown afterwards was manufactured, right? Like, that was just the organic result of, when you said, like, oh, they forced us to watch it in the classroom. Like, I don't really remember. Yeah, we were kind of forced to, but I think the teachers just really wanted to know what the fuck was going on. And this was the only way to get it. And, oh, well, these kids are going to be exposed to it. Like, tough shit. Like, it's real life. It's happening. I'm not going to know what's going on for the sake of these kids, which is kind of shitty on their part. But would I be any stronger to be like, no, we're not going to figure out anything that's happening right now, even though it's the craziest shit that's ever happened? I don't think I'd wheel the TV in.
Yeah, no, I agree to wheel the TV in. But the side product of wheeling that TV in was, and that newfounded patriotism, did end up instilling this into the brains of young men and women who eventually did join the military and the Defense Department.
Oh yeah.
And went in pursuit of these, bad guys, if you will. And so there was a lot of like American patriotism that led to getting involved in something that maybe without this event, those people might not have even gotten spurred into or roped into this mindset of joining and fighting again. Like, it bolstered them and it got them riled up. But I think a lot of people maybe wouldn't have made that choice if it didn't happen the way that it did.
No, absolutely. And I think that the government, if they're not, if they're guilty of anything, it's always taking advantage of the population any way that they possibly can. I mean, that sounds kind of anti-establishment, but I mean, if you have a hugely patriotic population, why not use this as the time to recruit heavily into the military and be like, oh, you can defend us. This doesn't have to happen again. Never forget, all of these things that came out as rhetoric, were definitely engineered to feed off of that patriotism. But I like the optimist side of things. That's the pessimist side, but also the optimist side is that patriotism exists. And if you were alive during 9/11, you have that in the back of your head that no matter how divided we get as a country, when shit hits the fan, we all actually do all come together. And I feel like that's kind of now the millennial and elder millennial underpinnings of why we're not buying into this divide as much as our parents' generation and the older generation. We can watch Fox News and we can watch CNN, and we know it's bullshit because we remember that when shit hits the fan, we are all cool with each other and we are all okay. So it's just kind of, again, eroding side of that mainstream media.
There is
Divisiveness.
the amount of jadedness, jaded of the population that did go to war, and then they ended up finding out that it was maybe not for the reasons that they thought it was, or they got there and they were there for 20 years. So the millennials, I would say, at this point, we know that we would when actual shit hits the fan, we would come together. But there is skepticism instilled in us as well from being hurt by our political leaders and by these events that
And the media.
shape the world.
Yeah.
And the media. So we watch and we've learned enough to not fully commit to something without having a lot more evidence at hand, in the first place.
Yeah, well, we don't trust. I mean, the trust is gone, right? So even if they're the ones providing the evidence, we can't buy in anymore because they've just done it so many times now with, again, COVID-19 and all that stuff. It's fool me once, shame on you. Well, fool me twice, I won't get fooled again, That's truer now than it was when George Bush said it back at 20 years ago.
Also, mission accomplished.
Yes, yeah, all the grandstanding, that stuff, yeah. I mean, mission accomplished,
also
and
the
then to
fact
be
that-
there for another 10, 15 years is nuts.
Yeah, and even the way that we left, recently.
Afghanistan, yeah.
3 years, 4 years, whatever. That was so fucked up. The way that they actually got out, they left all the equipment because they couldn't bring it out. They couldn't actually pack it up. They wouldn't they didn't want the enemy to know that we were leaving.
Yeah.
They were just gonna leave billions.
We're talking about missiles and helicopters and tanks,
vehicles,
and
yeah,
guns,
and insane amounts. And I think on the other side too, when all the evidence comes out and you see that we just spent 20 years in Afghanistan and we spent another,
I think like
19
15
or 18,
17,
whatever,
something like that, years in Iraq.
Iraq, and then and then the real true culprits were from Saudi.
Yeah.
And we've never went to war with them. And on top of that, they're our best friends.
Yeah, they're our allies in the
best
region.
friends.
Yeah,
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Insane to be like, oh, but that's a faction of that population. Yeah, well, the other ones were a faction too.
Yeah.
They were living in caves apparently in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
And so they weren't necessarily the government, but then they ended up becoming the government when we left.
Yeah. No, I mean, when you look into the ties between, Afghanistan and Pakistan and Yemen and Turkey and places like that.
Sorry, we forgot though that we found him.
Yeah,
we found him in Pakistan.
In Pakistan, yeah.
So we spent 20 years in the place that he's not even living.
And he wasn't even deep in Pakistan. He's like right
across the border.
you can almost see Afghanistan from the side. Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things where you just like really scratch your head and you're like, all right. I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have to literally squint my eyes and look really closely at anything else going on. So like recently with something like Ukraine, Russia, of course we know Russia's not our friend.
No.
But we also know that Ukraine is also a hotbed for criminals
and corruption
and bioweapons and just all sorts of, sex, whatever, like all sorts of crazy
sex trafficking and
like it's not a great place to begin with. And the fact that we were sending so much money into the place that we are 1,000% guaranteed is not a great place, but it's just you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay, cool. No, your camera went off for a second. I'm not sure.
Just a hiccup, but we're back.
Okay. But yeah, that kind of shit is like where, of course, people are going to be like questioning, like, I mean, I honestly, when the whole Ukraine thing started, I was like, all right, well, like if it's going to happen, it happens, but it's got to be short. And it turned into something where we're still talking about it to this day. Like we have something to do with it. And we don't.
No, it's a strange power environment that is like geopolitics. And the tragic part is that it's decided with people's lives. And you can say, oh, well, soldiers, they sign up to fight, they know the expectation, but we don't have to send soldiers. We don't have to their deaths. We don't have to promote war. That doesn't only affect soldiers. It affects innocent people as well. Those are the real tragedies. It's tough to value one life over another, but I think, innocent civilians, are always weighted a little bit more. So it affects them too. And to say that we're going in and we're helping to save these people by providing one side with means of killing is a tough thing to wrap your mind around. And then also just the fact that we still have like political ties and obligations to both sides is really difficult also to wrap your mind around, that in supporting one, you can in a way be supporting the other side if war is what they want. So if Putin does want a war, then we can, in a way, support his goal to have that war by maintaining the other side's ability to fight that war. Now, am I saying, oh, well, just let Putin have everything that he wants? No, there needs to be some kind of middle ground, but we're very directly connected to just keeping this war going and keeping the fighting going and keeping the dying and the killing going too. So yeah, I think we just need to reanalyze like what we're fighting for as a country and what we're talking about and what we expect our elected leaders to do on our behalf.
Yeah, I agree. You know, what is funny, not funny, but you know, what is in light of this whole conflict,
Yeah.
one of the funny things is that we as a country have like an epidemic of, in the last 20 years or so, probably since 9/11,
Yeah.
the testosterone in men going down.
Yeah.
And so that was almost like our last hurrah, was like this going to war in Afghanistan and Iraq. And they were like our last bit of like glorious years of testosterone. But since then, it's been all downhill. So this latest thing with like even Ukraine, like, or any conflict in the future, like I honestly don't even think that they're going to want to send human capital in there because there's such a lack of like manpower behind it. It's going to be a lot of, you know, cybernetic and robotics and missiles and stuff like that. But I almost think that was like, it's almost how we talk about World War One, you know, of human capital on the battlefield.
Sure.
Like these are that was like kind of the peak. And yeah, I mean, I have a story here about, you know, what is it? Oh, speaking of testosterone, you know, being lacking, what do you think? Like, what's the blame for the drop in tourism in Las Vegas in 2025?
Well, I mean, economically, I think it's a little bit more difficult for people to have extra capital to be spending on luxury items like travel and entertainment. I think you know, speaking on testosterone, a lot of it has to do with microplastics, right? That's kind of the hot button topic right now, and sort of the lax regulation on the food industry and it poisoning us into sort of a complacent populace, which benefits the government in some ways. And I can see the connection between like the evolution of warfare going to a smaller scale. It's interesting because we'll always choose to send another country's soldiers to fight our war, right? Whether it's with Russia or, you know, with Palestine or with the North Vietnamese and things like that. We want until it doesn't work anymore, until we actually have to send our troops in. But yeah, we do value our capital, our human capital, our soldiers and our military personnel. And that's what the government, I think, is also coming to terms with, is that we can't have another unpopular war where we go and fight and die for a lie that they tell us. So I think that's kind of also evolving warfare to be a little bit more digital, drone strikes, bombs dropping, versus going in and actually putting people where the bad guys are. Which we kind of saw in the recent wars in Afghanistan and Iraq too. There's always going to be a need for buff dudes with tattoos and beards to go and take out people. So you know, the lack of testosterone is neither here nor there. There will always be a need for, you know, war fighters, people that can actually go and do the job. But yeah, the large scale days of like an invasion are, I think, kind of, I hope they're behind us, but also there's the bad side of it where we're getting more efficient at killing people indiscriminately, which was like sort of the drone strike dilemma from the Obama administration, that too many innocent people are being killed because we're not good enough at targeting the bad guys. Yeah, it's kind of it's a blessing and a curse not sending people over there, right? I mean, if there really are bad people that need to be dealt with around the world, I would like to be on the side of the war that has the moral high ground, but that's getting harder and harder to justify killing anyone else anymore. I mean, maybe I'm just getting older and like I don't fantasize about war like I used to. Now it's just a horrible atrocity, and it's not a patriotic act, and it's just kind of degraded to a point where I can't justify it in any terms any longer. I mean, people need to fight, but for things that they care about and the people that they love and defend their homeland, and that's still going to need to be an option. But
this is a great point. And what really ticks me off is we have this blanket of untruthfulness called the Defense Department, but all day long we're playing offense. And I hate that fact that they don't I hate the fact that they always come up with these names that say one thing, but they do another thing. The Defense Department, if it was solely to actually defend America, it would just be the Coast Guard, and it would be it would be within our borders, and it would be there would be these one-offs where we actually have a world war where we actually have to,
send somebody to somewhere else. Yeah.
Send someone to somewhere else. But the way that it's been happening, it really is this offensive force. And what they say is policing the world.
Yeah.
But when you're policing the world, it's not, they're also lying about that too, because of how offensive it is.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, going out
doesn't
and being
make you feel good.
No, going out and being proactive, I'm sure is a necessary part. I don't know if it looks like all out war on
but that needs to be like
land.
Delta Force. That needs to be SEALs. That needs to be CIA and NSA.
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with like defense, like the Defense Department.
It should be National Guard heavy, like
80%.
Yeah. And then a force that is able to reach out and touch
strategically.
Somebody. Yeah, very strategically. And I think that's kind of what we've seen with like the recent bombs in Iran, Iran, whichever you prefer. It depends on what news outlet you're speaking from.
Yeah.
It's
but
very
going
strategic.
Back, sorry, to what you were saying about the guys with tattoos that are still joining the military. Like, they're the same people, this is the same government who hires criminals to fight our fires in wildfires in Colorado and California. So they take people from jails and they enlist them and they get paid shit
I know
wages.
all about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same in the military too. A lot of these guys with tattoos aren't just cool people that have tattoos and high testosterone. They're like getting out of, they're paying back, they're paying their dues, if you will.
Sure. I would say at the very top levels, though, you're not talking about criminals. You're talking about like career, like the
correct
Delta.
But that's
Force
a minority
SEALs dudes. Yeah. Which we need more of those guys,
right?
And we don't need a path. We need paths for criminals to to rehabilitate. I wouldn't say putting a gun in their hand and sending them to another
Right.
country is the best path to their rehabilitation. Yeah, there were stories, if you remember, people coming back from gang members at least this was a story in Los Angeles, gang members getting incarcerated during the Iraq and Afghanistan war, going and fighting, being enlisted as part of their punishment or part of their rehabilitation, I guess I should say, and then coming back with skills and weapons that the police didn't know how to deal with. And there were these highly trained killers that were killers before they left. We train them up and then we dump them back into the same neighborhoods that they left.
Correct. That's the same with that's the
rehabilitated.
That's the same with the people who go out and put out wildfires. Well,
Yeah.
they also have to study the wind. They also have to know how the wind blows and which types of winds are going to make the most amount of fire, and then from what direction you would want to. How can you shape the fire to go one direction versus another direction? They're getting all these skills. Eventually, potentially, could be arsonists afterwards.
Sure. Yeah. I could see how somebody could. That would be a very rare scenario. I feel
It usually
But it
is.
could happen.
Wildfires are very rare.
Yeah.
The same thing goes
Well,
to show.
Depends where you live, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it's still rare. I mean, even if it's not happening every day.
No,
But-
not every day.
But also then, let's talk about another one. Another situation is having us in the 80s train the Taliban to go fight against Russia in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And then we're ending up training them and giving them weapons. And then who are we fighting eventually? Are the people that we ended up training and giving weapons to and skills.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so
that's happened all around the world.
Didn't
so
that
long.
prolong? Wouldn't that prolong that war? That we recently went through is that these are all generationally.
Sure.
These are all people that we trained only 20 years prior, with all the skills that they need to battle within their country.
Well, and foundationally, it comes back to the military-industrial complex, right? We always need to have a war to fight, so it doesn't really matter what side you're on. It just matters that you have somebody to fight, because all of the money is anchored in this industry of war, and it's what's propped up our government for so long that now we just create wars. It's not too long from like the 1970s when Russia was fighting the Taliban in Afghanistan to 2001 when we start sending people after 9/11. And that's only we're so short-sighted. That's only that 30-year window, and we've swung 2 wars out of it.
It's the same with Iraq.
Yeah.
Gulf War I was 90s,
Yeah.
so it's even closer to the 2004, 6 or what? No, 2003 or something like that.
2004,
Whatever.
I think. Yeah, I think.
So I mean, again, it's one of those things where we literally went in there twice within a certain number of years. That were very close together. So of course that group of people are ready and willing to do battle again.
Yeah, and well, I mean, their culture is one of war. I mean, they've been fighting. The Taliban and descendants of the Taliban have been fighting for centuries. In war, and it's a warring culture. Like we have a warring culture in a way, I guess you could say, because we have the American military, but theirs is just a little bit more of a micro culture of battle and being able to defend your land, and
It's tribal.
knowing the paths through the mountains and knowing the ambush spots and all that stuff. So
Yeah, tribal.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they're highly skilled and they are equipped, but it's doing more with less. So they're the type of innovative kind of people who were given a lot less than who they were fighting against, but
they
they were
have
able. But they were able to defend much more.
Yeah, well, they have a stronger ideology because they have so much stripped away. They're not their cause isn't told to them. They live their cause, right? They are victims of these wars throughout the centuries, and we see it all the time that it's an unwinnable situation. I mean, even if you look back at our own American Revolution, when you put someone in a corner and you don't give them any choices and any options, and it's the actual citizenry that is motivated to fight because of their livelihoods and their existence is on the line, they're never going to give up. It's never going to be over. You see it in Vietnam and things like, where that guerrilla style of fighting, it never ends. You're radicalizing the children against you. Basically, you're going into their villages and you're doing terrible, horrific things to innocent people. And you're creating the next generation of people that hate you and want to fight for their homes and for their land.
I mean,
so
also this is the problem a lot of times, is that there's like peacekeeping, that goodwill, and we think that, okay, we're going to do goodwill, but what actually turns out happening is in survivalist training, like you create a tinderbox that it could be 20 years, but it's still smoldering.
yeah,
You think you put it out, or like from the naked eye from far away, it looks like the fire is out, but like it's just smoldering and it's there. And all it takes is for a little bit of wind on it, and all of a sudden it turns into a flame again.
yeah. And
Go
sorry, ahead.
The thing in the war in Ukraine as well, similar, where I think that this was there was already something in our recent, maybe 2010, 2011, that they were already kind of east and west were battling.
Yeah, the Crimea, I think, was the
Inside, well, that was another separate issue.
yeah.
But even like within their own country, there was
sure.
a east-west thing going on. Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing has been smoldering for, again, something like 20 years.
Yeah, I think even since the Soviet Union fell apart, Ukraine has been divided as sort of a Russian nationalist and then sort of a Ukraine separatist community, much like Sunni and Shiite and other.
It could be in Europe, is what I'm trying to say too.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't, these radicals or these ideologues are living in both an Eastern and Western culture. It depends where you're looking, but
and you kind of see it a little bit in the United States sometimes too, when people pick sides and they're willing to fight each other and kill each other over their beliefs. It's not a good place to be. We need to evolve beyond 100%. That, and we need to stop promoting it around the world and encouraging 100%. It just to hit our nut for tanks sold this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's a great point too. Is a lot of these things happen to do? Okay, where does a lot of our? I don't know how many what percentage, but we could look this up. We'll come back to this, but they're out of all the employees of the United States, I want to say about 20 to 25% of our country works directly or indirectly for the government.
Yeah, I think it is a huge amount. I thought it was more than that even. I thought it was like 30 or something.
Yeah, so I mean you're almost on borderline like fascism in a way. Like where the mixture of business with government is getting to like a really bad place. And I would say that when we get into a situation where our GDP is relied upon by exports, and what do we actually produce in this country? Well, it's military, like related products.
Yeah.
So-
Services, entertainment, and bombs.
Yeah. So when we're talking about actually having to deal with our inflation or trying to mitigate debt or to that's why there's or in my opinion, that's why there are these wars that continue for so long. It's like you build up these stockpiles, you need to get rid of them so that you can make new products, because if you're not making new products and you're just sitting on the old products and they haven't been used yet, then your demand is going down and your supply is going up, and that's an imbalance in your economy.
Yeah, and you're going to have waste. You're going to have loss of things just sitting around, and a tank
Where do
can
you put
only
it?
sit for 20 years until you got to throw it away and build a new one. But why not send it out right after we build it to some war that we're fighting somewhere else? Clear it off the books. Hey, we got paid for that. Ukraine, sent us $20 million. We're cool.
Yeah.
$20 million of the billions of dollars we've sent them. They bought it. They're using that money to buy the gear back from us.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a laundering play as well, where we send it out, but it comes back.
Oh yeah, we're not nothing.
know?
We don't do anything for free. We're all of this aid and stuff.
Yeah.
It's benefiting us. It's propping up that whole industry.
I mean, speaking of this, I have a story here about Senator Rick Scott.
Okay.
He just disclosed, more than a year late, he disclosed that he made some trades. Those trades are today worth $26 million that he didn't disclose in a timely manner.
Okay.
And he traded millions on companies that he legislated.
Oh yeah. That's a very big talking point. Yeah, a lot of insider trading style of business going on with elected officials.
But these are the types of people that control. Well, these are the type of people that get insider knowledge ahead of time too. Not only to legislate, but they're getting what is it called? They're having people come to what is that?
Lobbyists.
Yeah, they're having lobbyists.
Yeah.
Come to them and tell them what the next thing is going to be ahead of time.
Yeah.
And so that they can legislate. But
and
in
get the
order
kickback off of the stocks they trade. Yeah, for sure.
and how are they going to get paid? Well, they're not going to get paid directly, but because they've been told the story of where things are going ahead of time, all they have to do is tell that to a financial advisor that they have. Not tell it directly, but tell them indirectly, hey, I really want to, this year I really want to invest in X defense company.
Yeah.
And somehow a war pops up just a couple months later.
It would be interesting because you're pretty financially savvy with the market, and you've always been a little bit more tuned into it than I have. About what we think are some industries that might, even for the wrong reasons, be on the way up. Like we've had conversations in the past about like nuclear energy and things like that are just now becoming sort of a financial opportunity from these, from some of the biggest players in the game as far as like tech companies in the United States, which is, they are our largest companies now. It used to be American Steel and back in the Industrial Revolution, but now it's Google and Apple and Amazon that are creating these data centers that are going to rely on nuclear energy. I wonder if there is a way for like an average Joe Schmo to kind of capitalize on this stuff.
There is. You know that these are the companies that are getting defense contracts too. Like the Googles, the Amazons, just invest in them. These aren't companies that are delivering your packages to your house only.
No.
These are defense companies masquerading as social media, masquerading as a book sale distributor. These are the companies that are getting the kickbacks and contracts from the government. So
Well, the data is so valuable. I think the data that they're mining and creating
Correct.
is so valuable to the government in general. The war of data, the data war.
Yeah. So I would say that in that regard, you see that okay, there's data centers, there's AI, there's all these things that are happening right now. But what is AI? It's not just generating Purr-Pilot commercials for our podcast.
No, that's not the peak. That's not the pinnacle of AI.
That's not what it's for. It's masquerading as a generative. Oh, it's amazing. It's allowing normal people to have access to design functions and LLMs and chatbots and all these things. Well, it's training as well. It's training on all the data. It's figuring out it's trying to create a global picture and of the population of the world and all of the information accessible to it. So, of course, data centers, AI, and these tech companies are going to be invaluable to governments in the future, the data that they have and harness. So that is where it doesn't matter if there is a crash coming or what people think is going to be a crash. What will come out on the other side is more of that.
Yeah.
We're getting a sneak peek of it.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point that my question was like, how does a regular Joe extract value from the changes that are happening? And this is a good example. Like we are able to do whatever we want. It might be a little bit silly on the surface, but it is a good example of something that somebody could do with an earnest kind of drive to get their product created or create a business or do whatever they want. I mean, that is how people can benefit from this stuff, even though you're right. It probably is just another giant industrial complex that's going to feed itself until it falls apart, just like everything else throughout history. But why not pull the most out of it that we can to benefit us in the meantime?
And on your side of things, what you were saying earlier, this is also what makes sense. You want to be a first mover. You want to get involved as quickly as possible if you actually want to capitalize as a normal Joe. They say here, Goldman Sachs says AI will replace 300 million jobs by 2030. McKinsey says AI will replace 70% of white-collar jobs by 2034.
Yeah.
The WEF says 84 million people will lose their jobs to AI this decade. Do you want to be one of those fucking numbers? Or do you want to just play around with this shit, get ahead of the curve, and still keep your fucking job, people?
Or now you can create your own job.
Right.
You can, you use it. Yeah.
But use it.
Yeah, use it. Yeah. Don't be afraid of it. It can't hurt you. It'll only do what you ask it to do. I promise. I've messed around with it a lot these last few weeks. Doesn't have some sort of subliminal goal yet. And that's only because it's so new and it's so open for everyone to mess around with. So yeah, get used to it now and be on the side of history that get something out of it. Don't sit around and wait and just let it pass you by, and then it'll end up stealing your job unless you figure it out.
Or just the getting ahead of it is really important. And then other things as far as normal Joe to try to figure out is how to get as close to that money printer as possible. And it's called the Cantillon effect. So the people that sit closest to that spring water are the healthiest.
Yeah.
So invest in the companies that you see are as close to the money printer as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's another true way. Like, this is not financial advice, but that's the truest way of earning capital going forward into the future. Don't do these long shot bets on lotto tickets of companies that have, the potential. Just
Who's capitalizing right now?
Who's capitalizing right now and who's the biggest?
Yeah.
Just get in there with the biggest, because it's almost a too big to fail situation at this point.
So yeah, if the Federal Reserve is relying on AWS, Amazon Web Services, to run its algorithms and do its predictions, invest in AWS. I'm not saying that that's who they use or whatever, but the bigger the company, if they're doing the research to figure out who the best is. I mean, it's tough to say, but trust where the money's at, because
right.
That's where all the investigation time and all the research grants and all the money comes from.
Yeah. Another thing to do is to look at who is actually building in a time when commercial real estate is plummeting, in a time when jobs are being laid off, in a time when you're seeing things, inflation skyrocket. Look at go into your public records, find out who's actually building during the last 10 years. Those companies are probably going to be around for a long time. Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about like Google. They're huge data farms, and then also Amazon, even with like distribution centers and also data farms too. I mean, that stuff already exists now.
Last episode we were talking about community-based solutions. This one we're really talking about this global macro side of things, but I don't want our fans or our listeners to think that that's our stance, that we would only invest in these larger companies. But I would say that if you want a savings account, think about it like a savings account versus a checking account. So if you're going to put your money away into savings, look at the larger players, because they also are the ones who will be hiring in the future as well. And that does lead to more jobs in your community. So it's not only your checking account will be your speculative smaller businesses. Maybe you put a little, you're shopping at such XYZ local store and you're supporting, local businesses, but you're not spending all your money at those places. You're gonna need a savings account, something that's more backed with security and longevity. And those are the bigger American players that we're talking about.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing that you're saying is that just make some room in your budget to support local businesses.
They don't need that much.
Well, it's also the most immediate return that you can get too. So if you really want to see your neighborhood get better, maybe have your home built by a local home builder rather than a national, huge, giant corporation. And don't buy that cookie cutter house on this giant tract of land that was essentially stolen through government legislation and provided to these giant real estate developers for next to nothing because they know who to grease. I mean, that's just one example, but keep your small money local, but also I ordered something for same day delivery from Amazon the other day because I needed it. And also, while it does support the drivers and the pickers in the warehouse in my community, that money is eventually going up the chain to Amazon. But don't lose sight of the fact that these giant companies are part of your community also.
Exactly. I mean, like, it's, that's a big part of what I was saying. It's something to consider as well, that these corporations, as shitty and big as they are, we do want them to succeed. We do want them to continue to make like our communities stronger. Sometimes you need heavy hitters on your lineup. You can't just have a bunch of awesome pitchers.
No, yeah. An isolationism never really works as a policy. We can't shield ourselves from participating in what's happening. We can just use it to our advantage. Dude, this dog clicking, like, I need to put shoes
They have
on
these little rubber caps for nails for cats that I saw recently.
That's all.
And I was like, there's no way that a cat is going to keep those on and not chew them off. Well, I saw a cat.
I think that's from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
They have it?
I mean, maybe it was like cat socks or something like that. It was like, is your cat too noisy?
That's but I saw a cat with them on, and I was like, oh, okay, so they do work.
Little claw caps. Yeah, I need some of those from
they got claw caps. They got dog shoes too.
We have just hardwood floors and vinyl floors throughout the whole house. We don't have any like installed carpet anywhere, which is nice. I like it. It's easy to clean, but it's noisy. It's like
all right. I got another story that was brought up. Amtrak will let you attach your own private car to one of their trains, and they charge you per mile. So privately owned rail cars. So apparently,
so you can drive onto it.
Yeah, apparently there's people in this country. So this goes to show how people are just living completely separate lives in this country. That there are people that have private rail cars.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And you can and they're gonna let you hook it up and then hitch a ride and pay per mile.
Oh, gotcha. I thought you meant you can drive your car onto the Amtrak and hook it up there, but you're talking about a rail car itself. Yeah, that's really cool. You could trick it out. I mean, the whole school bus tiny home thing. Like, you just scale it up just a little bit. It's not that much different than changing a school bus to changing a rail car to however you want it. Dude, a double decker rail car, like the dining car. Have you been on you've been on Amtrak in California, I'm sure. It's bigger on the East Coast. You've probably been out on Amtrak out there too, but yeah, that would be so 100%. Awesome.
I mean, it was funny because when I read this story, it reminded me of an idea from, I want to say 2010, maybe 2008 era, which was derived from me hitting my car, running over a rock that was in the center of the road and busting the oil pan, and the whole engine just turned off, and I had to coast in neutral and get towed. Well, the tow driver came, and I asked him, I was like, it's me and a friend. What is it possible if I just like sit in the car while you tow us back? And so he was like, yeah, sure, just sit in the car. So me and my friend were sitting in the car, just having a great time, looking out the window, not having to drive, and get towed back to the whatever, the mechanic shop. So in that car ride, we were thinking, how cool would it be if we designed futuristic semi trucks that for the rich and famous, like people who have Lamborghinis and Ferraris and all sorts of fancy cars. How do they go and enjoy the rugged terrain of Nevada or the jungles of the Amazon? Well, we let them drive their fancy cars onto the back of our truck, and then we have all like the 4-wheel capabilities and multiple wheels and axles and shocks, and what they sit on is an actual platform, like a showroom platform that you could control with your cell phone and actually be able to turn, like when you like, oh, let's look over there, and like, you know, you could track it with an app and actually turn the whole car inside of the back of the truck and look, you know, out at the Sahara, or, you know, here's the, you know, a waterfall in the jungle on the right, but you're always like able to actually spin around and even communicate with the other rich people that are in their cars, or if they like group chat style.
It's making me think of an application for it, of a self-driving off-road model where you can go into the desert in Nevada outside of Las Vegas, and you get into a dune buggy that's self-driving, and you know there's a warehouse there full of these dune buggies. You rent them, and you have the ability to explore somewhere that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, and you could do it anywhere. You could do it in the rainforest, you could do it at the North Pole, or you know, whatever, but sort of a self-driving model where you just get into something, and you know, it's similar to like the self-driving Uber or Waymo style
or the
model
cars in Jurassic Park, man. But I think they were on a track.
Yeah, they were on a track, but yeah, I mean, they did it.
But now you can actually do it, like you're saying. Like the technology is actually there to make it a completely autonomous and, you know, terrain worthy, while without having that track. You know, you're not on that track at Epcot or whatever with the old cars.
No,
and
it's just a track of GPS coordinates that take you to this cool lookout, or that you wouldn't be able to get to otherwise. Some places might even be too difficult to hike to. You know, you could really expand where you can get to if you're able to get into like a rock crawler style vehicle and just have it take you to, you know, a far off place.
I mean, I think that would be great for obviously the trust has to be there. but like the Grand Canyon, like fuck donkey rides.
Yeah.
Like I want autonomous, small autonomous vehicles that
let those donkeys go.
Self-balance. They could be self-balancing motorcycles that actually can be on the ledges instead of a donkey, and ride down a trail down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon and bring you down and bring you back. I mean, those poor fucking donkeys, like we could get sponsored by PETA and be like, no, we're going to save the donkeys. Meanwhile, we're going to create like a business of autonomous, like dune buggy / self-balancing motorcycles.
We'd have to weigh out the environmental impact of donkeys versus the environmental impact of self-driving motorcycles. But there is probably an offset there somewhere where at some point having donkeys eating, farting, pooping, drinking water, living and dying is more detrimental to the environment than a self-driving vehicle. But until we do that, it's going to be a pretty tough sell. I like it. Yeah, the trust has to be there to do anything.
Dude, speaking of self-balancing motorcycles, here's an idea. This is something that I thought of, I want to say maybe 2019, somewhere in there in 2018, 19. So in construction, we still have to use wheelbarrows. So my idea was a self-balancing wheelbarrow that uses a one wheel, the self-balancing wheel that people ride around on. So we literally take that product and put it inside of a wheelbarrow and it could be maybe easily convertible, but basically when you pick it up, it drives forward. When you put it down, it stops. When you let it down a little bit, it goes back in reverse. But it never
you push down a little
tips
bit
over.
That would be great. To bring this full circle, I did see a video recently about it's proven to work. It's a self-balancing single rail train car. So somebody invented it. They actually brought it in. They made it. They made it work. It was called the Brennan monorail, and it uses two giant spinning gyroscopes inside and a very clever steam and gearing system, so that you only require one rail for your train, because as you're going around corners, it can tip and self-right in the correct way. It ended up being too expensive, and also there wasn't enough buy-in because it just looked crazy. It was like, how is this even working? It was kind of a witchcraft thing.
What year was this made?
In the early 1900s. This is from... It just says from the early 1900s. I just did a quick Google search. Let me see here. I guess I could ask it what year.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, that's why there's nothing new under the sun.
1903, invented by Louis Brennan. It was developed, I believe, here in the United States.
See, like monorails, like they're definitely cool, but like self-balancing motorcycles / touristic vehicles are way cooler.
Yes. This was very interesting because it was actually even safer than, in theory, safer as long as the system worked properly, than a non-self-balancing 2-track train. Because if you go fast enough in a normal train, it will tip over. This one had a system in it that would essentially make that impossible. So it was actually safer, and it could go faster. It could even go faster than a normal train. And the track was easier to build because it was only one, right? So half as expensive, but also you could take it to places that were less manageable with two tracks. Because you could
maybe we don't know enough. We'll have a guest on eventually, robotics guest. But
sure.
Are there gyroscopes in these robots that, like you can kick them and you can like slap them around and they don't fall over?
I don't know. I think it's all kind of vectoring with them. Like they use servos and motors to counteract inputs, so they can compute and move fast enough to catch their balance.
If we did make a robot with gyroscopes in there, they would be like the ultimate fighter.
Yeah. Well, anything that spins is a gyroscope technically, and that's why bicycles and motorcycles stand up and want to go straight. If you don't,
so the body of this robot
impact
will be just constantly spinning, but the arms and the head and the legs stay still. Or like,
yeah, you could never push it over because it would always want to return to that normal balance of the spin.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could put that in a donkey.
It takes power. Yeah. I mean, you could redesign the donkey. I mean, it's a pretty old design,
That's
right?
True. God
it's
would
time.
hate us. What are you doing? I made the donkey. Now you're fucking with him.
Didn't God give me this imagination and these ideas?
I would make their ears more satellite-like.
Okay.
Or radar. Or if you whispered in a donkey's ear, he would talk to the donkey ahead, like with the other one, it projects it ahead, and somebody hears it like, oh, almost like those isolation, those speakers that they put in restaurants now over tables, and it's only basically isolating the sound right below it. So anybody can like.
I really love good acoustics in a restaurant.
Yeah, but you can choose your own playlist at your table. And the other people don't even hear it.
Yeah, I don't want to be able to hear anyone else's conversations. I don't want to think that they can hear my conversation. And I need to be able to hear the people I'm talking to. I'm sure you've been to a lot of places where they have bad acoustics and it's too loud. Even a normal like dinner. I'm not talking about a nightclub or anything. But I think acoustics are really kind of an under thought of luxury, that if you're trying to enjoy yourself, acoustics need to be
I agree.
list.
That reminds me of this thought that I had, which was if we're able to design noise canceling headphones, why can't I put some of that tech in my room? I should be able to put in 4 corners of the room, or however, like a couple corners of the room. There should be a way to make a sound force field, if you will, to noise cancel everything that's happening outside, but like through electronic means versus like soundproofing, in like a whatever physical way.
Yeah. I really like my noise canceling stuff. It gets a little bit disorienting sometimes. I don't know if you ever feel that way when you're wearing something noise canceling, where it's not obviously depth perception, but it kind of has a similar kind of feeling, like when you lose part of a sense, that it's kind of almost nauseating in a way.
There's got to be a way to.
It also noticed it when it turns off.
There's got to be a way to input the balance of that into it as well. That would be a better product, where it noise cancels, but then at the same time it like generates a frequency that's like you can't hear it, but it makes you feel that balance again without hearing it.
Yeah, or just an option for some reference sounds like birds chirping, or something to keep it tangible, because when it's an absence of everything, it leaves space that shouldn't be there. It's not a natural feeling. It's like being in a room that's so dark that it doesn't matter if your eyes are opened or closed. It's kind of that's a little bit of that, like I've lost a sense, and there's a little bit of a panic or an adrenaline rush when that feeling comes
But
on.
is that more so because we are people that have stimuli around us at all times, and maybe it's just our lack of having peace and quiet ever that makes us feel uncomfortable in those moments? But like if you asked a Buddhist monk in a cave in the Himalayas and deep inside a cave that doesn't have any sound or whatever, he says like, yeah, it's the best moment of my life.
I think I think yes, that there's a little bit of a we're unplugging, but I think it goes beyond that into like the sort of the deep brain part of it, where we're never really entirely without stimulus. Like float tanks are pretty cool, right? Because you're eliminating as many of those senses as you possibly can. But there is kind of until you really sink into it, there's a little bit of just a kind of a feeling of panic. Like I'm missing something that I rely on pretty heavily to navigate my life, and now it's gone away. But yes, it's probably amplified by the fact that we're so overstimulated all the time that when it goes away, it's really shocking. Obviously somebody that lives in Alaska and, it's dark for, months at a time isn't going to have as much of a negative response to losing all light, or somebody without hearing, so a deaf person isn't going to freak out when the noise canceling stuff
Not unless
turns
they
on.
could hear before their hearing went away.
They were lying to us this whole time, and they could hear.
No, I don't know.
I mean,
but I guess I'm just saying it's probably disorienting for those people that lose their hearing.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, it happens with my AirPods. Like when they turn off and the noise canceling goes away, it's like, bleh, like I just pop back into like the normal reality.
Speaking of something going away, for the first time, well, let's say within 6 months, there will be more data centers being constructed than general office construction.
Oh yeah.
So commercial real estate, building offices really is in the shitter right now, but data centers are fucking exploding, dude.
This chart that you're showing here, which maybe we can add to the video later, but it's kind of showing that they're about to cross each other, like right now.
Yeah, that's within 6 months apparently.
Yeah,
unless they bounce
crazy.
off each other.
Yeah. I don't know if that's how graphs work, but
Like a sine wave.
yeah.
But other than that, I would say that there's something to be said about people studying or at least looking into finding a job at whatever you can do at a fucking data center. I mean, at this point, it's probably sweeping floors, but I mean, janitorial services are going to be huge in the future. You got to keep those fucking data centers clean.
Yeah, I mean, electricians and electrical engineers and people that actually are involved in building these things are going to be good in the beginning because they have to be built still by humans for the time being. And then also being at least maybe in proximity of some sort of material company that, whether you're providing the steel or the roofing or the concrete or whatever they need to build them.
I guess people should look into studying how to work at a power plant as well. There's going to be a shit ton of power plants that are going to be having to be built too. It's not only data centers.
And then figuring out what positions at those power plants can't be replaced by AI. Yeah. There's always going to be a need for, well, not always, nothing is certain anymore, but for the time being, some sort of human judgment and sort of our problem solving and our dexterity to solve physical problems.
It's like commercial airlines today. They mostly are, I would say probably 95% autonomous, but the guy has to be there to know what buttons to press, what levers to pull. So it's the same at a power plant. Yeah. Like there's going to be a necessity for somebody as a backup to be able to push a button or pull a lever.
You know what I just thought of too is one thing that is going to need to take place is keeping nature at bay. So
landscapers.
We can't landscape, and then we also can't have rodents, pest
control,
and animals causing issues in these data centers, chewing wires and stuff like that. Pest control, and then landscape, like making sure that whatever field, whatever nature these things are put into, doesn't with the lack of humans being there, the nature would just take back over. It doesn't matter what you do. Right now, nature's still the most powerful force.
Also, HVAC out there. and again, like dust control and janitorial services.
Yeah, cooling technology for sure. Janitorial services, landscaping services, all of those physical jobs are still going to
Window.
need to
They
be
don't have. I
required.
was gonna say window washers, but it's no windows.
No, but general cleaning
Yeah.
and stuff. I mean, you do need to pressure wash the side of a building every couple of years, or else it'll start falling apart. Snow removal.
That's a good one.
Might be important in certain areas. Ideally, they would probably build them in ideal environments that don't require much.
But the good thing about building in an area that gets
intervention.
cool is for the actual data center to stay cool.
That's true. I wonder if they are like, Antarctica. Do you know the theory, the conspiracy about Antarctica?
Oh,
How
yeah.
nobody's really allowed to be there.
Yeah.
You can do scientific journey. You can't go on vacation to Antarctica. You have to attach yourself to like a scientific research
That's
journey.
That's a great topic that we should come back to. But I would say
we
that
can talk about
we
that
probably
another time.
touched on something about them building underground data servers in Antarctica, and what most likely powers them is geothermal power plants underground because of how much molten lava and actual steam and is under the surface there that's not showing on top.
And you have the super cooling ability of the surface of the Earth in Antarctica. That is
Correct.
some of the coldest places that you can be ever. And then, it is. I don't know the exact information. I'm just an idiot, but it is a very like geothermal area.
There's volcanoes.
also,
It's nuts. I would say that if we can in the future, learn how to safely tap into Yellowstone super cold era.
Oh man, we're playing with fire.
If we could somehow
Yeah.
drill into that puppy and get out some energy.
Just pure heat.
Just heat turned into energy. That's the future. Like, fuck nuclear power. Like, if we could just have what the hell is 2 miles underground running us.
Just an unlimited supply of heat. Yeah.
Also, there's
hydroelectric
power that is definitely being able to be generated in Antarctica with the snow melt and the rivers, underground rivers. And they probably have an endless supply of, lava heating up ice turning into an underground river, power plants set up to capture both the heat from the volcano and also to turn the turbines with the water passing over it.
It's interesting also because at the North and South Pole, we always think, oh, it's sunny all summer, all throughout the day, and it's dark all winter. So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to capitalize on the solar energy during those summer months of 24-hour sun that would still, it would be offset though by the darkness, but maybe something that you can set up in the summertime and then put away or drop back underground in the winter.
Well, I think that what you're alluding to is an important subject. So the ice melts during the summer, but the summer is full sun 24 hours. So your power plant is basically a geothermal power plant in the winter when it's covered up with snow. But as the snow melts and it's 24 hours, there's a probe that goes up and creates a umbrella or dish setup that it gets the sun. It might even be the fact that like it lets the cool come in around it in the winter, and it's drilled down to get the geothermal for the data center. but then it actually pulls that heat up to heat the snow. The snow never actually covers or touches the data center in the winter. And it's getting that cool air from the snow and everything being cold up there during the winter, but it's still pulling like the heat from the ground. And then it's always exposed. So as soon as there's 24 hours of electricity, it's able to get both sun and geothermal. So like there, in the summer months, maybe you have like double the capacity, and in the winter time, you don't.
Yeah, and you can flip a switch pretty easily to rely on the North Pole data center versus the South Pole data center also, because they'll be on opposite schedules, right? So when you need more power during the summer, you can run your North Pole one, and then during the summer in the Southern Hemisphere, you can run your South Pole data center.
I mean, it makes sense to have these be. These aren't things that we're going to bring the energy back to the mainland. These would be businesses and companies that rely on energy, local energy, and that is why data centers are dope, because they basically don't need.
They're self-sustaining,
and all you need is an internet connection with a satellite dish, and that data can be sent anywhere you want. You don't even have to.
Yeah. We're not talking about tapping into the grid. You're making a whole new grid. I think one thing about energy and electricity specifically that a lot of people don't talk about, they talk about the creation of it, but they don't talk about the challenges of storage as much as it is, because that is really the main issue. We have unlimited energy in the sun and geothermal and fossil fuels and nuclear energy. I mean, really, there is an unlimited supply. I know some people will say, oh, we can't keep drilling for oil, it's going to run out, but it's not. But storing that energy after it's created, all of our energy is used. That's kind of how the system works right now, is that we're using it all as it's being created. But to really harness it and use it as effectively and as efficiently as possible, it's a storage problem. The batteries and superconductors or supercapacitors, excuse me, are really kind of where the cutting edge technology and where the conversation should be about energy and how it's used best. I just don't think it comes up enough. It's all about where do we find the energy, not how do we use the energy.
Yeah. And I think on one of the last points on this podcast in general, because I think I gotta take off soon, is I got to too. That energy. If there's a way of, basically there's a study from Dr. Emoto where he showed that words and thoughts change the structure of water 99.99% of the atoms in a human. Anyways, words and thoughts change the structure of water, is this Dr. Emoto's study that he found. Well, if there was a way to go and do war in the future that I would support, would be somehow changing the world by casting love and thank yous and subliminal positivity into a region of the world where those humans are made from water. And if you were able to actually change them through frequencies without them understanding what was happening to them, and all of a sudden, that area blossoms into, having a change of mind and heart, you might not even need weapons in the future. It's a love bomb.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, a love bomb. Yeah, like subliminal
positivity,
benevolent propaganda.
Yeah.
Which, that propaganda has a negative connotation, but yeah, I like that idea. I'd like to think about that after we sign off here.
Well, thank you for coming, all our followers and listeners, and I hope that you're liking our episodes so far. And again, if you make any of these ideas or you create any content that maybe you were inspired by this show, let us know and send us that content so we can share it with everybody else. We like the fact that we're able to inspire you.
Yeah, and you don't need to create an AI video. You can just leave it in the comments, or you can write it down, send an email, talkriffradio@gmail.com. If you're still on the email train, which I still am, but I'm getting old. If you've made it this far in this episode,
Congratulations.
I commend you. Yeah, congratulations. Like and subscribe. Show your appreciation, because we appreciate you guys. And that's my subliminal, benevolent propaganda.
Yes, more positivity out into the universe, and we hope you come back next week.